it's just me and you alone, never lonely.
Hello, Chef Russell. Thank you so much for being here today with me to talk to the blog about just your journey as a chef, a restaurateur, all of those things. Thank you so much.
Welcome anytime.
So I wanted to just start off by getting to know a little bit more about you. I mean, you're an incredibly accomplished chef, restaurateur. You've been on the Food Network star, Iron Chef America. I mean, your resume is very impressive. So I just want to know, like, when did you start cooking? And, when did you know this is what I want to do with my life?
Well, as the story goes, I started cooking when I was 3 years old. And I hadn't told this story in a little while, I suppose. But when I was three, and this has followed me throughout my career in cooking, that I have the ability to watch from a distance and pick up all the information that I need about how to replicate something. Wow. And being raised within the California restaurant industry, you had to really take knowledge versus knowledge being given to you. Not the way I teach or believe, but it was what I grew up with. So at the age of 3, I decided I was going to cook breakfast for my little sister. And my dad was in Vietnam, and my family, we were living on the Marine base in San Diego. And I got up in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I pulled out the container of applesauce. I got the pot. I put the pot on the stove. I put the applesauce in the container. I turned the gas on. I lit the match. I lit the stove and put the lid on and sat back waiting for the applesauce to get hot to feed my sister breakfast. This is what I'd watch my mom do every morning, only to realize that I had used the pressure cooker and latched it. So when the pot blew up, my mom woke up.
I'm just like, my anxiety was building throughout this whole story. Like, I'm glad you're here with me today.
Applesauce on the roof all over me. No injuries, just a lot of mess. So, and again, 50 plus years later, nothing's changed.
Wow, it sounds like you were definitely one that they have to keep your eye on, keep their eye on you. And that's still to this day, right? I mean, you're currently someone that's still making moves, still kind of pushing boundaries. So it's great to hear that that's been something that's in you from a very young age. So that's very exciting to know. And so when you kind of got a little bit older and could, be trusted more in the kitchen, when did it become a thing?
I don't know when that's going to happen, but okay.
But I want to know, like,
well, it's interesting. So I've always, it's like food's always been my thing. And even growing up in high school and junior high, there was you get sort of involved with your clique of people. And I had my group of boys that I used to hang out with, and everybody sort of had their designated job. One guy was transportation, one guy was the girls, one guy was the booze, one guy was the drugs. I was the food guy.
Good.
So, and throughout all those years, I mean, at the age of 14, I was throwing sophisticated multi-course dinner parties where I would have all my buddies come over and bring dates, and everybody would get dressed up, and we would sit at our formal dining table and have like these multiple course meals. And this is in the 70s, right?
Wow. I wish I knew, like, the boys were 14 were like, y'all, the ones I grew up with.
Yeah, no. Yeah, those days are long gone, sadly, really sadly, with the music and all the rest of it. So, yeah. And so I cooked throughout high school and college, and I was in college and cooking at a couple of restaurants, and I just realized that, like, I wasn't following a path that I was happy with or comfortable, and not finding any joy. And I was very fortunate that I had a professor that kind of saw that and spoke to me about it. And I said, I'm going to drop out of school and I'm going to go full time into cooking. Wow. And I went to the chef that I was working for at the time and said, "Hey, chef, I'm going to take a break from school, and I want to increase my hours, and I want to earn my way up." And they said, "Idiot, okay." Bounced around to a lot of kitchens, worked under a lot of really, really amazing chefs at a point in time in culinary history where Los Angeles and California cuisine itself was evolving. Jeremiah Tower, Alice Waters, Joaquin Spinkel, uh, Hans Rockenwagner. There were all these amazing, Wolfgang Puck. There were all these really amazing chefs that were coming to prominence, and there was no such thing as Food Network or Food TV, or there certainly wasn't any level of social media, but and there were no celebrity chefs. It was, you were either really attracted to it because this is something that you truly wanted to do, or you were just crazy. There wasn't too much of a gray area in that. So I got fortunate that I was brought up along in those lines, and I was taught a lot of really cool, interesting things, and exposed to a real different side of life for myself. And I worked my way through a litany of different jobs and opportunities. And at one point, I had worked at 10 of the top 40 restaurants in Los Angeles, under some really crazy chefs. They've helped to make me the chef and the person that I am today, and know how I want to treat my crew, my family, how I want to be, represent my community, what and how I want to represent my style of food, the place that I grew up. And that's in large part why I built this restaurant, and how this restaurant got built was because it was really about trying to share with people the evolution of food as I understand it. Yeah. And because, in the end, I think for everybody, food is very personal. Communal, sitting down and sharing a meal with somebody is a very intimate act. And having that, especially today, in the necessity that we're forced to stay apart, that there's a sincere importance about reconnecting with people, and maybe even though socially distanced, being able to reconnect with them and have a common shared experience that will allow you to have a touching point, to be grounded, to be able to have a deeper level of interactivity, of connection. And that's what we tried to build. That's what we did build here within Reverence in our indoor dining program, and what we're still trying to promote when we send food out. We want to give people the opportunity to be able to sit down and share a meal and reconnect with each other. And we've done that, and I'm really proud. I think of all the things that we've achieved here, I think that that's probably one of the greatest achievements that we have done, because that was the original mandate when I built this place. Like I said, it took me years. Like I know in the 90s, when I was preparing to try to build my first bricks and mortar restaurant, that I was working for other chefs and running these big restaurants, and I was really struggling with who I was as a chef and what I did for a living. And I was fortunate that I had people around me that were able to help guide me to ask the right questions of myself, and to have a better understanding of why I needed to do what I do, and the importance of it, and coming to those realizations, and then acting on and working through that for years. And and loving it and hating it and questioning it, and turning it upside down a million different ways, and having successful outcomes and not so successful outcomes. It's been it's been a long, difficult road. But then I built this massive restaurant in San Francisco. More money than I've ever had to raise in my entire career. I built a 1,500 square foot bistro, brasserie, in a 125-year-old historic landmark building over the water in San Francisco. And it cost money. It was almost $5 million to build that restaurant up, and it took years to do. And I literally had a tooth fall out of my mouth from the stress.
I can imagine. Oh my gosh.
Just grinding my teeth so bad, walking along, and just a tooth fell out. It was like, what was that? And I ended up having to close it, which was, you know, one of the most gut-wrenching experiences I think I'd ever gone through at that time. I've had worse since, but definitely was one of the worst experiences in my life at that point in time. And again, going back to that reflection of, all right, who am I? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why do I take on this challenge in my life? You know, there's so many other things I could go on and do. And I'm very, very fortunate that, again, Dominique Crenn is one of my best friends. And she is one of the best female chefs, and I should just say chefs in the world. Yeah. She's in the top 50. She hates when I say female chef, but you know, not that there should be any level of distinction. But she is a brilliant person. And when I closed the restaurant, I spent a lot of time with her, and that's at that point, Food Network reached out and said, "Hey, we want you to come and be a part of our program, and we want you to fight on Iron Chef." And I said, "Okay, great, no problem. I'm there. Oh my God, what am I going to do?" And Dom says, "Come to Atelier Crenn and train here, and I'll prep you for the show." And because I won, and you know, we need to keep the San Francisco program alive here. So I went and spent a couple months with her cooking there. And through that experience, it wasn't so much that I was prepared or trained for fighting an Iron Chef, because that's just a calamity. That, you know, that's a bag of flaming cats that, you know.
Like, how do you prepare? Yeah,
that is what it is. But what I did is having that real length of time and exposure to her and her process of creativity, and recognizing aspects of that in myself, led me to be reconnected to my creative side and the inspiration behind creation. And that was one of those things that was truly missing for me. What is it that inspires me to do what I do? What is it that inspires me to create? How do I come up with a dish? How do I come up with an idea? And normally it was just sort of like, oh, this crap pops in my head. But what I learned was the mechanics of it in spending time with her. And that realization was, it was a game changer. It changed everything for me. And just that knowledge of, oh, you know?
yeah,
That only took me like 34 years to figure out, but cool.
Listen, it just matters when it happened, right? The time that it took, it is what it is.
Yeah, but you have to go, you know, and this is the thing that people don't realize, and this is the problem that young cooks don't realize, is that there's this enormous, I know this, I'm getting all this weird light, there is this enormous long journey that you have to go through as a cook, as a chef, as a business person. There are these layers and layers of evolution of thought and learning and experience and judgment that you have to go through to get to a place where you really truly understand yourself in a different way. And still today, after having all of this knowledge and all of this power of manipulation of my psyche, of my abilities, I still learn something every single day. After, you know, being in the business for 40 years, it's sort of a given that I can cook food good. It's that next thing that what, from an artistic standpoint, from a metaphysical, from a mental aspect, am I doing something that's for the good of? Am I providing an amenity, a service that will have impact in people's lives in a positive way? And you know, and I take all of that into consideration, you know, from the people that work for me and how I'm impacting their lives and what I can do to help them to grow and evolve, to taking care of my family, to taking care of this community, to being a contributing member of this community, and give something to people in a better way, and in a, not just in a more efficient way, but trying to, and I haven't quite figured out how to say this, but trying to give people something that they truly need that they may not necessarily understand.
in general. I mean, you just opened it last year.
Right.
It's in Harlem. It's a fine dining, fixed price menu. So it's a very kind of different setup than what we've seen, where people
Right.
are having different courses coming in.
Right.
So can you talk more about why you opened such a type of restaurant in Harlem, and also what you're doing now in the pandemic?
Right. So Reverence was started as an homage to my career, my life, the people that I worked with, the places that I love, the stories that I wanted to relate to people about what inspires me to cook, the food that made a difference in my life. So we wanted to also build a restaurant and avoid as many of the potential pitfalls that existed for restaurant operations. So the business model that we created is very, very different. Change my background. Boop. That's a good one. I know we like that one. I like that one. That's our wings. That's on our window. I had an artist, Nicole Dana, this artist that we commissioned to create these wings, and we painted them on the side of the restaurant as a gift to the community that represented us, but also represented the hope and love that we have for the community.
I love that.
So, because you can come and get,
Hi. Yes, no.
And we have some great pictures of people that have done that out there. We've been collecting them, and they're beautiful. So, essentially, it's a 7-course tasting menu. It's prepay, prefixed. It's very binary. You go online, you go to our website, you make a couple of simple choices. I want to have a vegetable forward, or I want a protein forward, and our proteins are fish and poultry. I want to have alcohol. I don't want to have alcohol. That's all I need to know from you. And if there's a reason, I would need to stick an epic pin in you. Beyond that, it's just like buying a concert ticket or a movie ticket. You're scheduled at 7:30. You show up 5 minutes before 7:30. The door unlocks. You come in. We literally point you to your seats. You sit down, and we start this experience. No phones, no technology, no distractions. You are with us for an hour and a half, 2 hours of undistracted information that we get to guide you through. You don't have to make any choices at that point. You can just go along for the ride. And that allows you to settle in, reconnect with your guest, listen to the stories that we tell you about why we created these dishes, what the thinking behind it is, what the chemistry behind it is. And it's not like we sit there and tell you, well, this asparagus was grown on the sunny side of a building listening to NPR, and we bathed it with water handed down by nymphs from we want a level of transparency that, like, look, we bring in this amazing trout, which is the California, the one of the symbols of California. It's the California trout. Which
yes, I'm a California girl.
Okay, so and because we're local sustainable, we found a farmer that is a fourth generation 70-year-old farm, trout farm in Pennsylvania, that brings us the fish once a week. That is so fresh, it's so stiff, we can't butcher it for 2 days, and they grow them from egg to our plate, and it's and the ability to be able to transparently tell people those stories and pass that information along, and the fact that you eat it and you get it immediately, and that those things relate back to music and stories from my youth or my upbringing or the chefs I worked for, and we tell those stories to bring the connectivity together so that you can appreciate why we put something on a plate. And obviously this has been the toughest period I've ever gone through in the restaurant, in my history in the restaurant business, in over 40 years. And we had a hate crime perpetrated on us here. And it was so much of a hate crime, I didn't even recognize that it was a hate crime. I was talking to my attorney because I wasn't getting a response out of my landlord about what had happened here, and trying to get the videotapes of the building so that I could try to ascertain who had done this to us. And they were like, "Oh my God, you realize what's just happened here?" And I'm like, "What?" Like, you've had this horrible hate crime crime perpetrated against you. And I'm like, I just couldn't fathom that somebody would have that much hate in their heart that they could actually do what they did. And
what can you share at all? What happened?
No, other than just the fact that something occurred. So I was out there cleaning it up, and I was thinking to myself, why am I doing this? I should just fold up, close the doors, and home and write this off. And my staff surrounded me that day and supported me. And then we had customers that came in later that day and up food, and unknown to them anything that had happened earlier in the day were just telling us how impactful what we do for them, how much it means. And it was like, okay. And for my staff to see me struggling, and then for them to hear that as well, because it wasn't just about, it's like, for me, it wasn't just about what somebody had done to me and had done to this restaurant, but the humiliation, the anger that my staff I know was feeling. And for somebody to basically save us that day, not even understanding or knowing that they had, was everything. And we were just like, at the end of the day, we're all, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. And that's, again, it's that pendulum swing of how all of this works, why it works. So, yeah.
Wow. I'm incredibly sorry that happened. I think that's right. These kind of incidences and things, that's a big part, right? Your restaurant is in Harlem, which is known for being kind of a place of, Black food, Black owned places, all those type of things. So for that to happen in Harlem it was shattering in the respect, and I get that, like, people don't, for us, we've had a struggle in trying to spread our message in as much as we keep talking about it, and we keep trying to clarify to people who and what we are. And we're living through a period of time in life where acceptance of the unknown comes with an enormous bag of suspicion. Yeah. And it doesn't come with a positive suspicion, it comes with a negative interpretation. And that it's not just, you can't just say to somebody, this is what it is. You have to be consistent over time, proving what you are. And that's what we consistently continue to do, because as much as you're trying to put your message out and trying to prove to who you are, people interpret things in a different way. They don't ask questions. They don't read. They don't educate themselves, and they make a judgment based on Twitter or social media or Instagram or whatever, and they don't get the full picture. And that's certainly a part of why we have and I have been very much anti, for our in-house dining. When you come here for an experience. It's sort of like going to a movie and showing you the entire movie or all the punchlines before you walk in the door. So we don't want people to know anything about, other than the fact that they're going to have a good time, they're going to have a good meal. That the whole premise of outdoor dining is that there's no need for additional ventilation. But if you seal the room up to make it warm, to make it habitable or hospitable, you're good.
We're screwed. People are going to be shoveling all this snow, God knows where, to create pathways to get people into these temporary COVID incubators.
This is like a dystopia.
No, it's like I wish I could say that, okay, there were better ideas, but again, we have a mayor and a health department that has no wherewithal. I don't, they don't talk to the restaurateurs about what would best serve you? How can we best help you? They don't look to us for advice, even though we're since March. It took 2 weeks for the restaurant industry to implode. And the burnt remnants that are left, the bitter hanger-on like myself, who are digging massive debt holes to try to stay in business. There's maybe 1% of people that are actually have done well during COVID. But even those people are starting to suffer again. I said that, we have to look at our food chain, our resources, the reality of telling people the truth and transparency of where their food comes, why it costs what it should cost, why our employees should be paid the way they need to be paid, why a minimum wage should not exist with a tip credit. Like all of these things the transparency and the clarity has to be put out there. Restaurant businesses have to change. It's going to cost more money to go out and dine. You can get value for that dollar, but it's just going to cost you more. It's hard to say, well, I fault not having enough customers because, we have consistent customers, but the cost to do what we do are double what they used to be. We're running a restaurant that we never intended to build. So, and we have operating costs that we never planned for. For the Thanksgiving meal kit that we're putting together, which we're really excited about. I'm very, very excited about doing it. But the packaging alone, just to get the base amount that we need to have in here to do just that 2 days of service, $2,000.
Wow. And that's not
packaging,
food, that's
garbage, going in the landfill. That as a green restaurateur kills me. Utilizing the best materials that we can in staying green, recyclables, compostable, glass, anything that we can, and let's continue to expand our offering so that we can feed more people in a different, better way, and make sure that, as we quickly started to realize that health-oriented cuisine, not health food, but better quality, higher quality, more local, sustainable quality products were really what was going to be important for us in trying to provide to a community that's been highly underserved, as well as has been sold a lot of garbage, and unwittingly so. And then we, like a lot of people, we had to completely, in dealing with only high-level vendors and purveyors, all of our vendors, our produce company, our meat company, our fish company, everybody closed up shop. We had to rethink everything about our acquisition and materials and where we're going to get stuff and how we're going to, and I'm very fortunate that we have a foraging partner who has normally just done a handful of wild materials for us, but he stepped up and says, what I got to get for you, chef? And he would show up here every week, couple times a week, with deliveries of different things that he would acquire from all the way from Pennsylvania to Boston to Nantucket to wherever he could acquire materials for us that were within a line and the quality level that we knew we had to have to bring it in and load us up,
Wow.
And it was amazing that we had that resource. And again, Talk worked very hard with us, and it allowed us the ability to expand our menu, expand our offering, and to do the best quality work. And I would put, I hate to say this, but we are really good at this. We are really good at takeout.
I believe it.
I will put our takeout kit up against any Michelin starred restaurant in the city that's putting out takeout. I'd put our work up against it in a heartbeat, and I know we would beat it because we've gotten, and I hate saying that we've gotten really good at it. We are really good at it now. Not that there's competition, and we want everybody to do well, but
nothing wrong with competing towards good. And it sounds like your flexibility has helped to revamp this and just make it something even better. So that's very exciting.
It's again, it's a heartache because it's not what we do.
I know.
But in the end, the necessity of what we do and the ability, and again, like I said, when we go back to the basics of hospitality and the fact that we're trying to provide a level of grounding for people through a very difficult time, can we provide that resource for people? So that's what we do. And again, the basis is the food is good. Doesn't matter what we cook.
The food has to be good.
But the fact that you get to sit down to a good, high quality meal and reconnect with the people that you love, or sit down in your home with all the stresses and shit that's going on outside and turn Netflix on and eat out of a really good box of food, you know. Hey, I mean, you know, it's how I feed us at home. You know, my wife does not cook, but yet this is what allows me to be able to have food for us to be able to enjoy.
Yes.
You know, with all of my heart, I hope that, you know, I mean, I bet everything on this, and my son's future, my family's future. We're 110%. We're more than, we are now 150% in on this. And yeah, success is, there is no option about it. The success has to be achieved in one manner or another with this, because failure is not, sadly and unfortunately, not an option. So we will continue to do what's necessary. And I hope that through that experience and through that will continue to grow and be a benefit to the community, benefit to our family, benefit to, most of all, to the people that work with me, and that their education and their ability to grow with us and beyond us is very important. Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing, and I just, from what you're describing, is something definitely I'm excited to try and to experience, because it sounds great. The freshest ingredients, especially in a place like you said that has not always had the highest quality ingredients,
no.
and really
make again, like you know, again, it's like I know that, you know, the resource, and this is the reason why we built the restaurant here. Like I could have built this restaurant in the East Village or Brooklyn or whatever. I could build this anywhere in the country, but I chose Harlem for a distinct reason, beyond the fact that I live here, mm-hmm. and that I wanted this amenity for myself, and that I want more amenities like this here, better quality, chef-driven restaurant concepts that are here in Harlem that don't serve soul food.
Yeah.
That you know, there's only so many iterations of soul food I can take. And
no, it's delicious, but like, you know, like you said, food that's made by Black people can be, there's so it shouldn't be contained with that one sense of what's authentic food.
Well, you know, it's like you think about Naisha Russell, you think about Douglas Williams, you think about, you know, there are all these amazing, you know, Doug Williams, you know, rising star chef, you know, he's an Italian chef. It's a brother that cooks Italian food, and he's one of the best in the country, you know. Hello.
I mean, that's what I'm telling you, right?
Naisha does Cal Korean, you know. Mariah, who left her restaurant, who is now in Hawaii teaching kids, she did Japanese. You know, it's like, again, we don't just cook pork chops and fried chicken and waffles. Like, I can do it, and I probably own your ass doing it, but God help me, that's not what I do. You know, and I think, and I say this with all due respect.
Of course,
and I think a lot of people get offended when I say it, but the reality of it is that the African Americans have been led to believe that their food is only this one thing, and that all they deserve is this one thing, and that's not the case. You know, I mean, I can't begin to tell you how many times throughout my entire career, and all of the chefs that I just mentioned have had all the same experiences of being told to, boy, stay in your lane. You know, that we are more than just this, that all of us were raised with all of these different types of experiences and styles and backgrounds and places that we've lived, and we're relating, and food is about relating who you are
Mm-hmm.
what you are, what you stand for,
Mm-hmm.
how you connect to it. That's fine dining. That's the essence of cuisine, and showing it to you in the most hospitable manner. And if that means you stand on a street corner and eat out of a cart and cram it in your face without silverware, that could be fine dining. You know, if it's made with care and thought and exceptional quality ingredients, and that there's a story and a message of connectivity. You know,
I like.
you know. So
No, I'm wishing you all the best with Reverence, and I'm just hoping that, you know, with Black Restaurant Week coming up, that you get even more, you know,
they reached out to us, and I thought it was kind of interesting. We're supporting them, and we're going to be doing a couple of dishes inspired by Patrick Clark, who for me is, you know, he is an American vanguard as a chef, and not just because he's an African American chef, but from my understanding, before me, there was a gap of African American chef fine dining owned restaurants in New York, in the tri-state area. It was Patrick Clark in 1988, and then there's me.
Wow.
So and we've been trying, like I've been trying for the life of me to verify it, but everything we keep finding leads to the reality that that is the case. I feel it's very unfortunate. It's not a flag that I wish to bear, but that because we have that foresight and that knowledge, it will be a flag that we will proudly attempt to carry forever long and necessary, and that we won't let ourselves or Patrick down, and that we hope that, you know, again, I want nothing but, I would love to have other African-American restaurateurs in this neighborhood that are opening up small mom and pop businesses and doing high quality work. And again, I have to say, please don't open another soul food restaurant.
No, like you said, Harlem is known for that, but I think that the fact that you're kind of setting this imprint that there can be, you know, many different iterations of things in Harlem, in New York. So I don't think you're in danger of letting Patrick down, yourself down. This is an incredible thing that you're doing, and thank you. I think you're inspiring people who would not think to put fine dining right with African American chefs, because that's not automatically what people's thoughts come to.
And that's the saddest thing. That is the saddest thing in the world to me. It absolutely breaks my heart, you know. And that, again, this is that part of the systemic issues of racism that have existed within the industry for centuries. And let's just talk about African American cuisine, or not. I didn't want to call it African American cuisine. Let's talk about soul food for a minute.
Okay.
Who is the moniker for Southern cooking? And let's call it Southern cooking because it's not even soul food. Let's call it Southern cuisine. Who is the leader, the moniker, the torchbearer for Southern cuisine right now?
You know who popped into my mind, but I don't know if this is going to be the answer that you want. I don't know why. The first thought I had was Paula Deen, and I don't know why.
That's sad, but to a certain degree, a lot of people would answer the same, but it's Sean Brock.
I haven't heard of him.
Check him out. He's a badass. Like, I'll give him his just dues. He does fine dining, Southern cuisine fine dining. And he is definitively the anointed torchbearer of Southern cuisine.
Wow.
But big fat white dude with tattoos.
Wow. You see, but that's something else that's interesting to me, right? When it comes to who's kind of acclaimed within like the restaurant or the culinary world for this type of cooking, a lot of times it is not Black people who are seen even as the bearer of that cuisine that we kind of have birthed. So
there are none. There are none, and there are fewer women.
Yeah.
So for me, again, the important and the reality is that, you know, I have a great uncle that worked in France, that was a chef, and did French cuisine, fine dining, you know, and those are, you know, that the kitchens across the world have had Africans working in them since the 1700s, 1800s. We have always been the cooks.
Yeah, but not the one that gets the recognition.
Yet we get none of the fucking credit, and we get none of the But the reality of the legacy of African American cuisine, of Africans cooking, is enormous. Like, I'll drop another name on here that you should be definitively.
No, you're educating me. Honestly, I'm learning.
Good.
I appreciate that.
Rufus Estes.
Okay.
Look him up.
Okay.
First African American chef cookbook. Not soul food.
What kind of cuisine?
American cuisine. But what's interesting is when you read this book, and it's 1800s, when you read this book, you realize that it's French food done with local ingredients. Now, he cooked from the southern East Coast to the northern East Coast, and utilizing products and things that at the time were the cutting edge, like peanuts, tomatoes, and carrots, and but herein lies, you read these recipes and they are French in their technique and origin, but utilizing local sustainable ingredients. Because again, in the 1800s, you didn't say, I'll call Fresh Direct. Let me go to the supermarket.
Yeah.
No, they, again, classic kitchens, foraged meats and materials, what was growing in the garden, what was seasonal, what was the best quality for him to be able to produce for the people that he was cooking for.
Wow.
And the education was primarily built around European French cuisine, because that was the master. That was the Bible. Yes. Larousse and gastronomy, which were the cornerstone to the modern culinary arts. Those are those things that that people used as influence and built themselves around. So look up Rufus Estes. His cookbook. It's a little simple book. Amazon's got it. It's like $10 or whatever. Get a copy.
No, I will. And I think I just want to kind of wrap up by just talking about, not only are you a chef who's trained and everything like that, but you have extensive this culinary knowledge, right, of the contributions of Black people throughout history to cooking. And I
know just a little bit, just enough to be dangerous.
More than me, more than most. I just wanted to give you that recognition. But no, I'm wishing you all the best in your endeavors. I'm definitely going to find my way to taste some of this and to have this experience.
Come by Soup Store. Come by. That's the fun new thing that we've been doing. So Wednesdays through Saturdays, 12 to 5. And actually, you don't even have to come here. You can now order it online to be delivered.
I don't think you come across the Hudson to Jersey City though. So
actually, so through our program, we've been able to partner with Postmates without actually having to partner with them. But it's a flat rate. It's like $8 or not $10 or something like that for delivery out to even Brooklyn. So we'll send. I'm pretty sure that they'll deliver to Jersey City. It's like $10.75 or something like that for the delivery charge. It's flat, and order a bunch of food, and yeah.
All righty. Well, I definitely will. Well, thank you so much again, Chef Russell, for sitting down and sharing all this with me. And I'm wishing you the best of luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, just tell people the thing that's going to keep us alive, the thing that's going to help us right now is customers.
I understand. Well, hopefully, this will bring some in, just continue to publicize and share. So I will do my best with that. All righty.
You got it.
Have a
great. Know what else I can do for you in the future? Come spend some time with us.
I will. I'll be seeing you soon. All
right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Your head on my pillow, say, ooh.